Right. Greetings, everyone. My name is Jack Benjamin. This is my 9th or so year playing violin/fiddle. I spent the first 4 years of that in East Chapel Hill and Smith Middle School Orchestra. And this year I played fiddle as a volunteer in the Junior Appalachian Musicians Program in Cullowhee, North Carolina. So I have a question for all of you. What do you picture string music as? Is it sitting for those long 1 to 4 hours in a concert hall, or is it falling asleep in in a fancy hotel elevator? Or wait, is it the music that you hear when you go to your grandparents' house? So why does this matter? I'm glad you asked. We live in a world that is plagued by war, social injustice, dictatorships, and people who now believe our planet is dying. As a violinist, I realize that I can help change the world for the better. I can help invoke social change. I can get people to listen to the science that is screaming, this world is dying. I can help address the violence and oppression around the world. People living in countries like Iran and Russia. And orchestras, bands, and individuals can all do this through music. So without further ado, let's get into the history of music as a weapon against injustice and a tool for change. So to start this off, I wish to share an interesting story I learned from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum's official website. During the Holocaust, Jews, Gypsies, and other races who were living in the ghettos used music as a means to keep their humanity amidst all the acts of terror that were happening around them. They created their own chamber groups and other music groups, not only entertained but also spread news and share stories. There were a few composers and songwriters as well that were imprisoned in the ghettos and concentration camps. One of which was Alexander Kulisevich, an amateur songwriter whose music helped raise the morale of the starving and broken prisoners in the slave labor camp of Auschwitz III. This was common with musical artists that were imprisoned in these camps. I'll play an excerpt of a song that was performed in the concentration camps. 30 seconds. All right. So the piece that was just exhibited to y'all was a Doppellied, or Doppel song in English. The piece was composed by playwright Gerda Seufer and composer Herbert Zipper. Both were active in the Viennese anti-fascist cabaret until they were arrested by the Gestapo. The two would meet again in the Dachau slave labor camp in Germany, where they began to compose their piece. The idea behind the creation of the Doppellied, as also even put in the song itself and around, was the intellect helped preserve a prisoner's self-respect in the face of constant humiliation. According to Zipper, he and Seufer made it intentionally difficult to learn in the hopes that it would challenge their comrades to rise against their surroundings, which in this case were the Nazis. Music gave the Jews the ability to remain hopeful and help express to the world their pain once they were liberated from the torture. The Holocaust Memorial Museum continues to share these songs with descriptions that explain the meaning of the songs. After World War II, the Holocaust survivors continued to perform these songs and memorial services to help keep the Holocaust fresh in the minds of those people who were affected by it. Among the other uses that, among the other uses there's a counterculture example sort of in Russia. And I'm sure a lot of you happen to know about Pussy Riot, which is a punk rock band that was arrested by the Russian government. They are using music as a way to protest against the Russians' unjust laws and corruption. In 2012, the 4 members of Pussy Riot were arrested by Russian authorities at a Russian Orthodox church and were charged for simply having worn bright-colored clothes, waved their arms, and kicked their legs around and used strong language. And the Russian police based it without analyzing the lyrics of their songs or the context of the performance. According to NPR's article, Pussy Riot prevails against Russia in a human rights court ruling. Part of the reason why they were arrested, according to a Time magazine article, it's not Putin's Russia, it's all Russia, Pussy Riot members on protest, poisons, and politics, was that they were political activists, and the Russian government recognized the power of the performing arts as weapons against the suppression of other political groups or beliefs. So clearly, music could push people to act out against injustice. A recent interview of a person I know, but I will not name for their safety, had been a member of an Iranian orchestra prior to the Iranian Revolution, and later the elected Mahmoud Ahmadinejad When President Ahmadinejad was elected, the government shut down every conservatory, orchestra, and public concert as the music wasn't approved by the Islamic theocracy. The theocracy followed the Shiite faith of Islam, which claimed Western art music wasn't permissible by the Quran, since for the most part used instruments, which are banned in Islamic music by the faith. However, it was also exemplified the stark difference between pre-revolution and post-revolution Iran. Pre-revolution being more open to Western culture and not restricting its arts. This caused musicians to begin protesting in the form of underground performances. These performances were very illegal, and if musicians were caught, they would be sent to prison. Despite the ban of Western art music, the symphony still existed. However, it was not the same, as it was repurposed to perform patriotic music of the revolution, which had led to the creation of theocracy under the leadership of Grand Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, who overthrew Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the pro-Western Shah of Iran. The revolution wished to stop or manage Western culture. Music became much more than music. It became a form of resistance. It was a way to show the people that they would not bend to the will of the government. In my interview's words, when the rules of the government are absurd or unjust, you're obligated to resist it. In the United States, you may have heard of the ban on Western culture. In Iran, through the if you read any of the Guardian's articles. The interviewer says something quite important to everyone who is suffering from corrupt governments and dictatorships. Remain true to yourself. As long as you remain true to yourself, no one can conquer you. Iran, as of today, is somewhat less restrictive. And recently, the Tehran National Symphony Orchestra was revived by the new president, Hassan Rouhani. According to an article by The Guardian, Tehran's reborn symphony orchestra, an ovation before playing a note. It explains how excited and happy those in the audience were to finally after many years, hear the symphony play again, showing the impact the orchestra had on those in Iran. This performance is covered by many news sources, including The Guardian, REF/RL, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, The Economist, and the Hurriyet Daily News, a Turkish news source. The entirety of the 800-plus seat concert hall was filled with senior dignitaries of the Iranian government, as well as many everyday citizens who had come to see the newly revived symphony perform. This proved to the Iranian government how important the symphony was to the people of Iran, and that particularly only made them more happy when it was returned. A more contemporary example, Finnish composer Alma Kortakangas wrote a symphony called Seven Songs for Planet Earth. The composition was written in the hopes of addressing the very real issue of environmental destruction in cases like the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico or the Fukushima disaster in Japan. An article by the Washington Post covered its premiere and an interview Kortakangas about his inspiration for creating the piece. Centered around 4 poems by the agrarian poet and farmer Wendell Berry. And in his words, Wendell Berry said, people need more than just to understand the obligations to each other on earth. They also need to know the feelings of the obligations. That's what we artists should give, the feelings, the emotions of sharing our experience. This symphony was a great example of how orchestral music is still very relevant to our modern society and can be used to grab the attention and emotions of those who listen to it. The idea that contemporary classical music can do this points out a very serious concept. Can older classical music do the same? It can, as classical music has been used to address problems as well as persuade political needs dating as far back to Beethoven's time. Moving from the past to the present, an example of a song that is not based in classical music is a modern country song, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, the Angry American by Toby Keith. Toby Keith, according to the story behind the song article, had written the song in response to the September 11th attacks when everyone was confused and angry. According to a 60-minute report from CBS News, Keith performed the song for the Pentagon brass as well as troops overseas on USA tours. And according to Keith, in an interview, a Marine commandant had told him that the song would make an excellent battle cry and should be released since it would raise the morale of the soldiers and Marines in the front lines. The CBS article also makes mention that the U.S. military used the song as a battle cry throughout the duration of the war, and the line courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue was engraved on bombs, missiles, and even tanks. This proves the point that music, whether it be classical, country, or rock, can be used to empower people to fight against evil, soldiers and civilians alike. The album Unleashed, which the courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue was featured in, sold over 4 million copies in the United States in 2002. A few soldiers who I know from my paintball and airsoft field workout talked a bit about how they actually re-enlisted after hearing the song because it raised their morale. The Angry American gave the people the idea that the United States was going to go in and be the enemy that killed so many people in New York and D.C. To conclude this, I had interviewed my former high school orchestra teacher, Ryan Ellison at East Chapel Hill High School, on the matter of classical music as a tool of social/civil justice. And the first question I asked him how orchestra or band can help students of lower income families. He replied that when a student feels like they're included or wanted, it gives them a reason to come to school. And that many students who are considered at risk have told him that his class is the only reason they come to school on a daily basis. A good example that he gave me of a powerful classical piece was Fantasia on the theme of Thomas Tillis. The piece had a few parts described in Mr. E. The soloist is one person, the quartet the community, the orchestra one the region, orchestra two their country, and when all four groups play, the world. The soloist represents one person because they play on their own. The quartet represents the individual's community because it typically plays the same part or a similar part of the soloist. Orchestra 1 represents the region because it is the one that affects Orchestra 2, which, like in the United States, is akin to how states help push the decisions of the federal government. The ensemble as a whole represents the world because all of them affect each other. Like the actions of each nation influence others. It's moving because it has each section interact with each other in a very real way. The purpose of this, as explained by Mr. E. The composer Ralph Vaughan Williams meant to use this technique as a means to show that though we are one person, what we do on our own affects others on a small scale, but work their way onto the world stage as a whole. End quote. This is something that we need in the world right now. To understand that we all have the ability to make things change for the better of humankind, and we could do this one instrument at a time. Thank you for being here. Now we'll end this with a small performance of a country/bluegrass style song that I have written in response to the current urbanization efforts in my hometown of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Here we go.
You got this.
All right. Time I grew up was covered in trees, cloaked in God's grace. Running and hiking through the woods to go catching crawdads in the creek. The quiet, peaceful nights I find myself staring at the stars above. Bless this town, I say. The town council meets and proposes to build more homes, and that's just that. 1 week later, those same trees that would be running, hiking are gone. Big old cats and trucks now inhabit those old grounds. Bless the people, says progress. Small town, trees here and there. Small town, trees are falling there and there. Trucks and dozers everywhere. Small town, too much progress. A beautiful forest, now construction site. The people talk of how people will be able to have homes. It may not be a rainforest, but it's still God's creation. It is still a home. Why, oh why does progress claim to be for good when it destroys the most important thing for our survival? Look up from the lies. Look up from the ignorance. Look up to the reality in the small town that is being destroyed by progress. Small town, trees here and there. Small town, trees falling there and there. Trucks and dozers everywhere. Small town, too much progress. Small town, too much progress. I want you all to remember this performance and talk, and use this as a sort of resource, a sort of way to remember that you individually have a way to fight for justice and the wrongs in the world. Thank you.